Good morning, everybody. We're going to let everybody funnel in here since we're starting a little earlier today than usual. This will start going off at 8:15 instead of 8:45. I just think that doing it a little earlier in the morning is going to give us a little more time here to kind of get going and go over some ideas and not be as rushed. So that's really what I'm shooting for here. So we'll see how it goes, but that's my plan for right now. I'm going to give it a couple minutes for everybody to kind of funnel in and then begin. I'm going to begin with Match.com because I think it's the most relevant. I think it's the one that people can benefit the most from today on what's going on and actually make money off of. So we're going to address that in a moment. Oh, let's just see how we're doing here. If we got people funneling in. Yep, we're getting people funneling in. Good morning, Robert. So let's just give it a couple more minutes. And as I stated, earlier, if you haven't heard, I'm going to do this at 8:15. That's my goal. My goal is to start doing these at 8:15 in the morning, do from 8:15 to 9:15. I think the hour is a good idea to give us that kind of time to get started. Good morning, everyone. Hey, SF, good morning from San Francisco. So we have enough for me to start because I really want to spend more time with everybody in the morning going over what's going on in the morning so we can, see and act on it because there's a lot going on out there. Frankly, there's a lot going on this morning, but let me just address this. So Match got added to the S&P 500 and the question becomes how high can this go? Okay. So you first have to look at this and go and look at it on a technical basis, right? So the very first thing you have to do is just see where you're at, okay? That's your range. Now, being added to the S&P means you have automatic buyers. I mean, people must buy the stock, and they want to buy it ahead of this, okay? Now, if you put this in and you look at your range, you could see how you've already rejected that area, right? So looking at the daily, we can already see how we rejected this area. So what you have to do with Match is now you have to drill down into this, okay, and see what's going on. Now, we can get rid of these indicators because they're really not that helpful, okay? And we can see very cleanly how we have a rising wedge that ended with, a nasty long red bar down. And we can also see where that first 15-minute pattern is, which is something that we must watch, right? Because if we watch this and we use this as a range, we tend to do pretty well. So it's something that we want to do. And we want to do well. So we might as well use it. So 164 seems to be the peak on where, the algos are, or whoever the seller is up there. So that's the level you're going to want to watch this morning. You're going to want to watch that 164 level and see if you can get over that. And I would recommend that you wait until the market opens. I don't see any... you don't need the first dollar. You're trying to get the most. But if you break this line, there's a trend line here straight up, okay? And you'll notice how I've done this and I haven't used any moving averages at all or any other indicators, right? But if you come through this is where you're looking at going, okay? This is the potential of the stock. And, I think you can see 34%, 58 points. It's not going to happen in a day, but you're going to see this thing have the potential to get up there, especially when it gets added. And they're not adding it for weeks. I think 9/20 or 9/24 was the date. So just keep that in mind. This is definitely something that should be on your radar. No different than how this should have been on your radar, right? And should still be on your radar crowd. So just keep that in mind. So that's really what I wanted to cover. If you want to just start throwing out names that you want covered, just let me know. But that's what I think is most important. I think that's the easiest trade today is just finding spots to buy that on dips. In regards to everything else, I'm open and I just can go through what I've been looking at. But I'm most interested in what you guys want addressed and what you see. There's a lot going on out there this morning, like a lot, and it's good stuff. I would tell everyone to start to watch this. I'd be very careful with this. I think that this could finally flip and get us to where we need to be. So that's definitely on my radar. So let's just get into it. So, hey, good morning, Gotham. Good morning, Ethan. Good morning, buddy. Good morning, Miguel. All right, so let's get going here. So let's do NVIDIA. So NVIDIA, I really like. I like it a lot, actually. And what you're seeing here is the same, the same thing. Okay. Now, I want to point something out. Today, they had more news about that ARM deal not going through, right? Or the concessions weren't enough. Essentially, it's just a shakedown, a governmental shakedown. And usually this has dropped that stock pretty precipitously when we've had these UK statements about we're not going to let it go through because they didn't make enough concessions, blah, 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 blah. Bottom line is that deal's going to go through and it needs to go through, but they're going to make it go through, but they're going to have concessions. But I think it's really important to note, okay, that this stock is not really dropping, right? This is where we closed. This is where you're at. So you're not really dropping or moving on that negative news. And that's negative news because everyone wants that ARM deal to go through. So you can use that as a data point. And what is that data point telling you? It's telling you that people are buying this and they want this to go higher. So what we're going to see is we're going to wait and see if we can get a nice push through this 233 before we add to it. But if you get a push through this 233, let's call it 234 and a quarter level, right? But if you get that push, this is going to keep going. And I think our target price of 250 from the newsletter is worth that. I think we'll see that. Good morning, Lucas. So let's just keep going, but I like it. ZIM, I like a lot. ZIM, I like a lot. I just think it's going to keep going now. I think that it's had its fun, right? It had its little pullback. You have this, okay, which essentially, you hit there on Friday. You're flipping today. So now you have this cup here. This could easily come down, form a handle, and then go back up. But, barring a secondary or something, I think this is just going to continue to move. We can throw the indicators in, but they're kind of irrelevant. You can see the volumes picking up, which is good, but it's done what it needs to do. This is where I tried to enter and it failed. And then it just came back, held the 8, and then just reversed and just went. And that was it. And since then, it looks great and it's been acting great. So I don't see any reason why that can't continue, Miguel. You and DraftKings. So let's just go you. So, this is your level. This is what you have to watch. You're looking for the top of that. Okay. And I drew these levels coming across, but you have other levels up here like 140. But once you're in this, and once you get over that 135.58 here, look at this. Okay. There's no supply. Like your last supply level was here and you flipped it. So even though you see all this up here, right? You're not really dealing with it in regards to this. So it kind of stops here. So that kind of gives you an understanding. Now you can move this and change the time frame of it to include something like this, right? You can move that line just to see, geez, what am I going to be dealing with up here? And you mean you just can kind of just hold on one second here. So even if you go here and you say, I just want to focus on that, what does that do? It shows you that you're going to have maybe some issue at 147, 148, but not really. Not like you did down here. So I think that could continue to move. You just needed to get through that 135.58 level. And that is a big run for that stock. So maybe it takes a break, but it just doesn't seem like it wants to. Look, I think you're going to flip, and I think you're going to get up to the 64 level. I think you're going to get through this 61, and I think you're going to go. Now, maybe you don't. Maybe that doesn't happen, but that's really what I'm shooting for. That's the level that I'm looking for that to happen. Morning, Jacob. Morning, Ro. So I wouldn't really look at, ZM for me, looking at this and saying, let me get rid of this for a moment. ZM for me and saying we're looking for a day trade, right? Which we did in the community, but I don't know that you see it so much here now. Like the trade's over, you're in the trade, you bought it, that's it. right? Like I don't know that you need to be rushing into this. This needs to get up and into this. And we did it the other day. We did it on Friday. Now, if you want to play this, you have to be walked up, essentially is what it's called. So you need to, let's get rid of this one now. Okay. And really what you're looking for is 301.81. Like there's really no reason to buy this unless you're over that level, because that just means that you just don't have enough of a push, right? You just don't have enough people looking at it. But if you get through that, you might get stopped here at 317. I do think over time we just grind to 342. I do think that happens. This is pretty different than most of the stocks I'd put in the newsletter. And there's a reason why I'm not doing it, because I don't want to get into bottom fishing. But this could go. This could absolutely go and get up that 10%. I don't think you're going to get much more than that, but I think you're going to get that 10% on it. I do think that'll happen. Docu I like a lot. I think that different day, you might actually have seen it break. So, you really need to get through this level right here, which I have duplicated here. But get through 315, and I think you're going to move. Like this is pretty substantial volume. And the last time, you always go back and you look and you see if you can see something historic, right? And the last time you had volume like this, it moved. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this continue to move if it can break through that level. 315 is really what you're looking for. And I think it can. I think it can get through 315, and I think it can go. HPE, yeah, I can look at HPE real quick. Sure. So with HPE, what you're seeing is you're just seeing this, you're right here. I mean, this is your biggest issue, right? That 1560, you just keep rejecting that nasty red long bar. I mean, it's not doing much more than that, is it? At 1462, I mean, look at your levels. You're in between a point. So I'm not saying not to look at it. My point was, I just think that money's better spent in other areas. I mean, if you can clear all this and get up here, that's great. But other than that, you're not really looking at taking more than $1 out of this. And it keeps failing every time it tries. So that's not something that I'm interested in attempting. INMB. So, yeah, I mean, you have that bullish engulfing right here, and you came down and tested the 8, and then you bounced off of it. I mean, that's pretty much what you want to see, right? So let's see how it plays out. I mean, I don't see any big hurry to be doing anything here with this, but just leave it alone and let it play itself out. Kind of go from there. I don't see a sense in chasing this. You've got some other stuff up here that you really have to watch. Right? I mean, I can just show you some of these levels very quickly. You can kind of see them, right? So you can see where you had all these selling points. So, it's good that you're through the one, but you have all these others that are up here that you're going to really have to get through, where you had selling and somebody wanted to sell. So you're really going to have to flip them before I would be interested. I mean, this move has happened, right? The easy money has been made. Now, the bullish engulfing is good because it does show that there's buying there, but you still have to get through all these little levels. So that's something I'm crazy about. INMD. I like that name. I like this name a lot for a trade. I was looking at this weekend. You see how you have this channel right here? Right, everyone can see that. You hit here on the 8, and now you flipped it at 134.11. That's exactly what you're looking for. That's exactly what you want to have happen. And that's what happened. So that's what you want. So, I actually think if you can flip through that, which I think you were doing pre-market or post-market on Friday, you flip through that and get through like 135, and you're going to see another level of this, and you're going to see a real push there. When you flip these upper channels, you can see a real push in that name. And I think that could happen. Hey, Marty. AMD, I think that what you saw on Friday is the beginning. I always caveat with this that I could be wrong, but look at Friday's action. Let's blow this up, right? So Friday we opened lower, right? We opened at the low, came down, tested, and then we just went up and closed over the 8. So I actually like this move, and I think it was a decent move. What we're looking for is to flip the 111.71 and then push up to here, right, and just work our way up. I mean, that's really what you're trying to do there. So that's kind of how I look at it. I mean, that's really where I would focus more than anything is that area. I think that's really important. But I like semiconductors, and I think they're ready to move. So, hey, Terry. Let's take a look. So the answer is yes. I mean, look, 2/3 of the way that Goodyear should trade is 2/3 of its costs are oil. So usually when oil drops, the stock goes up. Now, with that said, what are we seeing here? We're seeing it get above the 50. You really have to get above the 17.25. And if you can get above this level, you will see a push. This is not a monster where you're going to it's just going to run, but you could get to 2070. You could get up there fairly easy and push. Absolutely. DOCN. DOCN. So, I mean, there's not much to say here. You flip both these little levels and you went, and that's exactly what you're looking for. I mean, really all you're looking for is for it to flip up here. And then if you're hyper aggressive, and this is really aggressive, if you're aggressive, you're buying this on some particular pattern and seeing if it trades up. I mean, that's really what you're doing here. I mean, that's the move now. So that's something for you to consider and look at, but you know, you really have to really want that. You're really going to have to want that because you can really come back down to here and still be in that upper trend. So just be careful, but there is a trade there. Yeah, I like I mean, I like it, got him. I just think you have to watch. TNA, I mean, all the trades we had in TNA that were out there before and the ones that you could look at now, look, this is simple. Okay. I mean, that's your range, right? You're breaking down. Now, you have to realize something. This starts to depreciate. That's why I haven't come out and said there's another trade in it yet. When this gets close to a line, okay, see how this is just kind of like sitting there and not really breaking? See how this is breaking? You have to realize this is 3x. So the cost of it just floating and staying up there, it just depreciates more than, you know, the Russell does on the bid-ask spread and the costs. So when you look at this, you have to realize if we go flat for like a week, this will be down, right? This could be down like 1% in a week, just over that being flat. So just think about that for a moment when you're out there. So you really need it to be motoring in order to be buying this. And we had that trade here, but now I think you have to really wait. For me, before I would consider adding to it, just get through this level, right? I mean, my first level is to flip 228 is what I'm looking for, but before I would add to it, I need to get through this 232 at this level. You know, look, I think we're going to break out this time, but it's done this a couple times, right? Now, this time it's a little deeper, right? And I think you're coming into the end of the year, so you're going to see a push, but I don't know that yet. So let's just take and Guild. Let's take a look at Guild. So, I mean, it's just grinding. There's not really much more to say about it. There's nothing to do there, right? Like if you're in this trade, there's literally nothing to do. You know, you're going to wind up heading probably back up to these levels and just grind higher. You know, you could look at this on a weekly and it would clean it up because you have a lot of wicks there. And you could see how now you're above that 200, right? You're above that 200 week and you're flipping. I mean, you really have to start trying to work your way up here. And you still have a battle and your volume's falling off. So just watch it. I would just watch it. So do you think you see more follow-through praise? I think you see more follow-through play. I think you see more follow-through throughout the rest of the year. But I think this week, to answer this question, is going to be a little different because you have people coming back. Everybody left, I always say the Hamptons because it's just easy, but it's the same thing in California or, if you're trading from Singapore, it doesn't matter. It's Labor Day weekend. It's a 3-day weekend because Monday the market was closed, right? So people go away. So you have to just think like that. So now everyone's getting back to their desks. Everybody's getting set up. By next week, I think we're full steam. I think we're full steam by next week. So Sono. So, this is one I played with before. Let's remove that text. We don't need it anymore now that I figured out how to do the watermark the right way, right? So you have a little line here and you have a little cup, and maybe this is forming a flag, right? Maybe. But I have some inside days here. So I would wait for this to pop off. And I would really wait for it to pop off because this is a long, red, nasty bar. So when we see those, right, we want to clear that and make sure that they're done. So that really puts us at 42.57. If you flip that, maybe this could go again. I don't know that you're going to get this. You're definitely going to get some part of this cup, right? And that cup from here, from 43 to take the trough, 30 is 13 points. So if you break this, you could see a 55 move. Now, this is the weekly I'm doing this on, and I think it's just cleaner on the weekly versus, and I can show you it in the daily in a minute, but you do realize that you have this above you. Okay, so just understand that. Now, if I look at this on the daily, it's going to be a little more cloudy, right? Like you have all these wicks. So that's why I like doing it the way I just did it. So I wouldn't be rushing into this. I would look at that level. So can you speak to real estate plays? What are you looking at dividend playing real estate? REMI? I think you need to look at them, but I think you have to take a look at a couple things. So let's talk about the space as a whole. And then if you're looking for yield, you and I can have a talk. Here's what you have to realize. Okay, the jobs numbers came out and they were dismal, right? So that means that people have to buy yield. Well, what stocks have consistent yield and have to give off all their profits? Okay, real estate investment trusts, and what else? Right, utilities. Okay, they're the two, right? This was one that we traded. Hold on, and we did okay with, right? This is one that we're still in. Okay, and I understand your question is yield. Here's the short. Now it's probably a longer answer, but here's your issue. So unemployment benefits just stopped federally on September 4th. They're not going to re-up them. They're not going to re-up that federal benefit, and states are not going to cover that. So that means that people are going to be more inclined to go out and find a job doing anything, right? Whether that's good or bad, I'm not here to debate the political sense of that. What does that mean? That means that jobless claims that come in this week on Thursday, or jobless claims that come in next Thursday, might be a little better than we think. And the next jobs report is going to show jobs added, period. So you're going to have to keep that in mind. Now, when that happens, that means you could taper. If you could taper, that means people are going to sell yield. If people sell yield, that means that real estate and utilities are going to get hit. So just keep that in mind as we're talking about this. As far as yield, I would suggest that you just look for what you think are the strongest names and the names that you're going to be willing to stay with. Is this the one that you just gave me? Hold on one second. Let me just see something. REML. If you're looking for like a long-term hold with this, you really have to go through the dividend yields, and you really have to spend time understanding what they own. Okay, so you're going to see some yields on some things that are going to be higher, like, okay, Brandywine. But like the issue that you're dealing with companies like this is, do you really want to own commercial real estate right now? Right? So you're just going to have to think about like which names you're going to want to be in. It's a much broader conversation, because do you want to be in industrial names? Do you want to be in multifamily? It makes a difference because they're going to trade differently, especially in this kind of environment. So just keep that in mind. As far as this REML, I don't know the dividend. I don't know anything about it to talk about it fundamentally. Technically, I can answer your question, and I don't know what this is. I don't know what happened here. I don't know if they reassessed it, and I don't know why it's down where it is. But I would want to look more into this fundamentally on what exactly happened here. But since this happened, which was the pandemic, all you've done is grind higher. So I would want to understand the story better, Boko, on what happened here. But to me, it looks like it's just going to keep grinding higher. And your first area would be this 1119. Unless there's some toxic assets in here, and you really have to understand that. And I don't have that answer. So I hope that helps. TNDM. So there's your break, right? And then you come down here, you undercut your low right here. So you undercut, you have your double bottom, you get above that double bottom high off the 50-day. There's your move. Now you're heading back up here. So you can already see where I'm going to go with this, right? I got to get through that, and I have to get through the top of this wick now, because they're your two target prices. So they're both resistance areas. So if you're going to buy this, just understand that that's going to be an issue, and this is going to be an issue. Now through that, getting through that, and I think that you could, well, that's kind of hyper aggressive for this name, but that's definitely realistic to get back up to here at 140, 150. That's very realistic. But you have to clear these little hurdles here before that happens. And you need some volume. Like, this is just pathetic. Like, there's just no volume there whatsoever. Yep, you're welcome, Lucas. MRNA. So this is the weekly on it. Now, this is a bullish engulfing on the weekly. I commented on this last night when we were doing this, and you got to watch what's going on here. Like, I'm actually surprised it's down, and that leads me to believe that we're probably going higher. I know it's counterintuitive, but when you start doing this for a while, you'll start thinking that way. To me, it's like they're bidding it down because they don't want you to know that they're going to rip it to 453. I actually think this is going to go. I'm not saying that they're going to stay up, but there's something going on here that I'm not fully understanding fundamentally. I thought that these things were done, but here's your H, and you tested and you broke, and then you reversed on your H with this bullish engulfing of this body, right? We can get rid of these. We know where they are. So you can see that, and you came up, you tested, you came back down, right? And then that's it. And this was not great news on Friday. And it went up on not so good news. So that leads me to believe that we could flip here. So, I mean, the real move is if you get over 417 on this, okay? If you get over 417, you can go to 453. That's what I would look at, and that's how I would trade it. I hope that's helpful, but that's how I would trade it. I think that's how you make money out of it. I would not be getting into this with the premise that I'm going to be doing this and going higher. Okay. When you have these long bars like this, right, they start accentuating the move. The move's essentially over and at least needs to base for a while. So I'm under no compunction that we're going to break through this and then just rip. Right, especially as more data keeps coming out. Like, it's just not going to do it. But 453, I do think you can get to. I do think that's possible. So thanks. Dividend paying, not playing. I have eyes on TWO. So let's take a look at TWO. So Two Harbors Investments. You're buying things that are kind of broken down. I'm not saying that they can't work if you have a long-term outlook, but when I have a cross like this and you have a gap down, right? I would just be concerned unless you know why this gap down and what's going on with it. This always concerns me. And the fact that I can't rally through this level, right? Like, to me, instead of paying 651 for it, I'd pay 676, 680, get me into this so then I can then move. That's what I'd be focused on more than anything. So, but, that's really what I would be looking at. Let's just keep going. eBay, spot, Yeah, I think spot's going to go. I mean, we were trading this one on Friday, and I think it's gone. I mean, it was pretty clear that this was the best of the of that news, right? This is gone. I think this is just going to rip, and I don't see any reason to think that this is going to stop. I mean, look, if you think about it logistically, right? What app do you use the most on your phone, and who has the single largest group of subscribers in the world? Okay. The largest paying subscriber base in the world is Spotify. It's not Facebook. It's not Instagram. I'm talking paying, right? Nobody pays. No one's even close to Spotify on a paying basis. So, they're global. Now, all of a sudden, where do you listen to music? You listen to music on your phone, right? The majority of people are listening on their phone, and they're signing up via their phone. Well, 30% of they just got a 30% net income increase, not revenue increase, but net income increase. So I can see why this is moving. I mean, I get it. And I think it'll continue. We had a trade on it the other day. I just think we talked about it, where you could take it out and where you could leave it. You break that trend line, you're going back to 300. I don't see any reason why you're not getting back to 300. So on that trade, there's 20% there, easy. It's not something I'm going to put in the newsletter because I try not to put things in the newsletter that still have to go through all these, hoops. But this, you couldn't have had better long-term news for their bottom line than you had Friday. I believe that was Friday. Yep. eBay. So you've been hitting this trend line and you can't break it. So until you flip this trend line, bonk, 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 until you flip that trend line, I would not go near this. I don't know why everyone's so excited about eBay. I think it's so antiquated, but let's just see what happens with it. It's not something I would buy here, but I need to flip that channel before I consider it. Yeah, it's about an 11% yield, right? So you kind of have to figure out what's going on there, and are they looking at that, cutting that dividend and looking at that yield? What are the assets there, and what are the underlying assets that they own? You have to be really careful with REITs. I actually did a lot of work with REITs back in the day, and you just have to be really careful because you have to understand where the income's coming from, geographically, and then what specific area, or institutional, commercial, multifamily. I mean, it could be anything. So, this ETF, I know people are watching this. Look, you have to get through this 54.22. Until then, you just have this wedge line that's just kind of floating up here. And this one's really drawn poorly. Hold on. Right there. So you're at 57, 58. I mean, you have a lot of work to do here. I can see it. I throw the indicators in and it'll make it look pretty, but you still have to get through all this right up here. And let's take a look at that for a moment. We have the time. That's why I like doing this a little earlier. I mean, look at that. Look at all the nonsense you have to get through. Right? I mean, that's all resistance areas that you have to push through. So just keep that in mind. I think your money's spent in better places. It does look like it's just going to grind higher if you're looking to buy an ETF. And you probably could see 10% out of it. So URA. Yeah, I mean, this has just been ripping. And apparently, this is all the rage. Uranium, look, I don't see it. I don't see this slowing. This is very difficult for me to buy because I try to stay away from the commodity kind of plays. It's just not how I trade. But look, when you have positions like this, and I'll just go over this again, when you have positions like this where you are literally gapping up, right? That is just telling you how much buying you have. Okay. These never end well, right? But you don't know where that end is. You don't know if that ends 35 and then one day it drops to 25. You have no idea. None of us have any idea how this ends. but it will end because it's a commodity. So it's just a matter of time. Doesn't mean that it can't get squeezed and be a double, but you just have to think about that. So if you want to play it, play it. And the way to play it is you need to look for positions over where you were the day before. And as long as you're getting that, you should be golden. But you really need to be careful here and understand that it's nothing for this to just come all the way back down for no reason, right? So they find another deposit or it lightens up somehow. Just keep that in mind. CMG I like. So CMG I like. You have this little wedge right here, right? Trying to get over that. It's just such a high price stock that it's, and it doesn't really move that much. Every once in a while it comes out with earnings and then the earnings will be the driver, right? And that's what it was here. $1,600 stock and you're up, 10% on it. Not a bad spot to be, but you just have to watch this. I mean, it's been a monster. I mean, there's not really much negative to say about it, right? You can see these lines and you can see where you're going here. Let's get rid of this. And you can kind of see what's happened here and then how you've just been grinding higher and higher. So I think that could continue. You're welcome, Boca. GDRX. So with this GDRX, there's your level. It's been the same level, right? Are we flipping it yet? Oh, let me throw this on the daily. Hold on. So are we flipping it yet? No. So you have to flip that level and stay above it, right? This was your break, and this was a great trade for those that did it here. The question becomes, what do you do now with this? And to me, this is not something that I need to go near until I'm above this, right? And I push. But a lot of people use this. They don't want to go to the pharmacy. They have the prescription. They want to just send it to my house. I mean, it makes perfect sense that this could work. It just needs more time. Yeah, absolutely. It could be a great video for that because there's certain things that you really have to watch out for. You need to watch ones that are constantly increasing, even ones that are issuing secondaries, because that just means they're in buying sprees. And that's what you want. You want the increase in income. TNDMI, S&P mid cap up 10 this morning. Oh, there you go. TNDM. Yeah, I didn't even see that news. I mean, look, get through that. I mean, this looks like it's a rip. If you can get through this, which you just stop that for some reason, right? It's funny how technical analysis works, but if you can get through this, this is a pretty deep base. You could see this push. So, the fact that this is added to the S&P 400 and the mid cap, absolutely, it should be on your radar. Absolutely. Same with this. It should be on your radar. You just have to watch those levels that we went through. But, both of those should be on your radar today. You're welcome, buddy. Riot. Yeah, the problem with Riot and all these names are they're not like here, start here, right? Like they're just not doing what you want them to do, right? They're like opening up and then they're coming right back down pre-market. They're not really doing anything. They're reversing and you're reversing on, this is not the best action. And I think that people expected this to move when El Salvador came out and said that they bought like $40 million worth or $20 million worth. I mean, you have to think about this, right? That means that somebody that had 20 million or $40 million of it sold it. They don't want to own it anymore up here. So what's that tell you? So, the fact that there's scarcity means you really have to understand how scarcity works. So to me, that wasn't the greatest news in the world. And it's not like it went up to, up here on that news, right? It's floundering. So I would be careful here with these. I'd be very careful with those names today. You might look, the fact that we're all waiting for it to break 50 and then it does, and then it doesn't do anything. That's not what you want to see. Yes. I think it's going to keep moving, Nicholas. So let's just keep going. Hey, Samira. AMC has not been covered. So I can cover that. I like the name. I think there's a trade there. I'm just waiting for it to set up. Look, here's your trend line, but here's the one thing. Besides these trend lines, look at this. Okay. You have a big bull flag right here. Okay. So if I get through this 48.06, which is really where I think that you could see it move, right? I mean, you could look, don't get me wrong. You could play this, right? You could play that line, right? Because you have the 2 wicks down here. You could use these as your low, and you could play this up to here or to here and try to get in early. But the meat of this move is going to happen when you get through this level you've been unable to get through. When that happens, you're going to see it really motor. And that's what I would look for. That's what I'm really looking for. That $3, yes, you could get in here earlier if you want. But once it gets through that, I really think you're going to head back to the 64 level. I think there's a real trade there. So let's just keep going here. Tesla's sitting right under 742. Yeah, I think this is our week. Yeah, I think this is our week on it. I think you're going to get through that, and I think we're going to push. So we're going to watch that, but it just seemed to me that this was the week, especially with the action on Friday, how you came down, tested support, and then bounced up over it. So yeah, I think this is our week. I do. So let's see how it plays out, but I'm pretty comfortable with it. Planter, here's the thing about Planter. So I needed to get through this 27.5 level. Once we get through 27.5, we'll be in good shape. Okay. Until then, I really don't have any interest in the trade. I may actually add it myself to my portfolio over 27.5. I haven't decided yet, but that's what I'm looking for. There's so many shares outstanding. It's hard. Yeah, I think UPST is gone. I think it's going to run. I think both those names are going to run today. Do you know, Stephen, do you know what's in REML off the top of your head? I like EXPI. I like that stock. So look, you got to just watch this. Like all these wicks always scare me because it just means rejection, and it means uncertainty. So just watch them. It's not something that I would be focused on. Snap, open interest, both sides. I'm not a big fan of Snap right here. I mean, I know a lot of people are watching it. S and KNOB. S, Centennial. I mean, this looks great. You broke out here and you just kept going. You broke out from this level and just kept going. I mean, it's very hard to buy this now because you really don't have a base and you can come back down. It's not something I'm going to chase because I don't know the story, but the chart looks excellent. Showing some indicators here. So I know you have a lot of people that are looking at this. Look, this is exactly what you want to see. Okay, that's exactly the move you want to see. You want to see this get over this today, 28. So you get over 28 today, and you're heading right back to this level, 33. And that looks like it's going to happen pretty fast. So just consider that. NVAX and Tesla. So, Tesla we've had in the newsletter for some time. Well, a couple days, like a week. This is what I said last night in the newsletter. I mean, it's no big, it's no big secret. You're bumping here. You got to flip 742. If you flip 742, I think you're getting to that 780 level. fairly quickly. I think this is going to go a lot faster than people think it is. And I think you're getting back to that 900 level fairly quickly. So I have no doubt in my mind that this company passes Amazon at some point. I have very little doubt of that at this point. People are betting against them. I think they're crazy. I know we talk about valuations, but there's a lot going on there. So, just consider that. But I think you're going to break out there, and I think you're going to keep going. NVAX, you're just watching that same level. So, NVAX, you're just waiting to break through here and go, right? That's what you're waiting for. So I don't really see any sense in doing anything with this until you break through this level and go. 266, same level. That's what we need. Yeah, I think it's going to get going this morning, Ro. I think it is. I'm not going to buy that until we see that. I have a bunch still to go over here. AMEH. So I need this to flip today, and it looks like it's going to. Looks like we're like 81, 88. I think that this could squeeze pretty quickly and run. So let's see if I'm right, but I think it can. I think you're going to see a lot of people get squeezed in positions right now. AMC, I did. ESTC, I thought I did. Maybe these are later. So, yeah, I mean, maybe I did it last night. The fact that you're bidding up, you have to watch how this opens. But if you flip this level, right, and you can stay up over this with how deep this base is, this probably runs. Probably runs pretty far. So just consider that. Hey, Cobra. So any SOS, I'll do them real quick. So let's just start with here. Okay. People have been playing this, and, you have to understand these are what they are, right? Like these are not going to reinvent the world. You might get lucky. You might get an IRNT. You might not. You're basically gambling, right? So you have to look at them and trade them like an option. This long red bar, the fact that we didn't break the 8 had me interested. The fact that I'm below the 8 this morning has me not interested. So this needs to base and do something now before I would even consider it. SOS, I wouldn't even go near. To me that, we used to call them wallpaper because that's all the certificates were good for. But to me, I wouldn't go near this. Every wick that hits that level is broken. So the other ones that you mentioned are very interesting to me. But as I stated, looking at this morning, with Bitcoin coming in, this could get annihilated, right? It was when Bitcoin was going up, it wasn't going up. Now with Bitcoin coming down, right? So that could be a real issue. It's not something I'm going to play with. That's for sure. So it's definitely not something that I'm going to, invest in. I would be really careful there. So, watching what's going on there. Same with BBIG. Like you just have to watch this. You have wick after wick at this 834 line. That's been your level. You've had one close above that level. Everything else has just been a rejection over and over again. So you have to watch 834. So, NVAX we just did. When do you raise stop loss on winners like Asan? What's the criteria to lock in profits? Trying to prove my own decisions. It's a great question, man. So everybody has to have their own way of thinking, right? So I've gotten to the point where I would look at the charts. Like to me, this looks like it's ready to rip faces off again. I was pretty vocal about this. And so Asan to me is different because as I was trying to point out and explain, let's go back to this. Let me just show you this for a moment. So this is what we were talking about last week, or when it came out. This is very rare that this happens. Okay. You essentially have a dragonfly on top of a base. Okay. On top of that, I broke out and hit a higher high. Now, on top of that, you look like you're going to flip and go to 100 today, in my opinion. I don't know what's going to happen, right? I'm just giving you what I think may happen. So it depends. It depends on you. To me, if I'm in at 70 from the newsletter, I'm letting this run. I'm in no hurry here. What's your hurry? It might pull back before it goes higher, right? So, you're only up 28%, right? So you're only up 20 points. I mean, you could have a double here in 6 months. So you might want to give it some time to let this work itself out. It's clear that there's buying here. So on something like this, that's how I would play it. Now, if I was not in this, I would be moving if I just got in it, like let's just say I bought it that day. Okay. I would just be moving my stop right now to like the low of the day and keep making sure I hit a higher high. And the first day that I didn't hit a higher high on the daily, I would blow it out. But as far as taking percentages and getting better, you have to learn to let your winners run, especially when you're up like 20 points in a name. You got to let them run a little bit, because that's how you outsize performance. I mean, that's truly how you get outsized performance. So, but you can always trim a little bit, like trim 20% of the position and just leave the rest alone. But you have to really think about how you want to play the stocks. ZM and coin. Let's do coin, Stefan, because I did ZM already. So you're breaking out here. I just don't know if this is going to continue if this goes down, if Bitcoin goes down. So let's see what happens with that. That's not something that I'm sure of. MMAT. So I wouldn't go near this unless it's doing something fantastic this morning. I just watch it. I mean, I don't think there's anything there yet, right? I mean, you have to get above this level, 635. Other than that, there's nothing to do there. Hey, Jerry. So let's do ADSK and CAT. ADSK. So that is a complete and utter breakdown. Now, you might be able to form a morning star there and flip to the top of this level. You may have found support for this name here. So what you really have to do is just watch this. If you want to try it, you have to flip that level, 293. It looks like you're going to try that this morning. So that's really what you have to watch. Caterpillar seems to be moving. Right? So we just have to see how that goes. You need this to start moving. I think it's going to, personally, but it has to get going. So you're welcome, Cobra, anytime. So net. It has to flip this level. It's trying. It might do it this morning. Looks like it did it Friday, actually, right? You flipped it on Friday. Maybe that's it. Maybe it goes. Maybe it finally goes. RKLB. So, yeah, I mean, this just looks like a little one that's just going to possibly go. I don't know if this runs or not today. To me, you got to just watch what's going on here. This should be your support level, since you really don't have one. You really don't have a support up here. You got to watch that level, and you got to watch the close, the previous day close, right? They're the levels you have to watch on this. So that would take you, I would use this as your stop, because that gets you below the close and below where you're at now. And obviously you're having issue with this 1436 level. So you can't buy it until then. And if I was in this, that would be my stop. BGFV. So, and then I'm going to have to jump here in a couple of minutes. I like this. I think this is going to go. I think that getting that higher high is probably all you need to flip this and to run. This is a really hot space, and I think this is going to continue to move. I like that. I like how it's flipping this morning. I think that's actionable right here. Hey, Jason. So let's just do SDT and PEN. Let's do this. So you have to understand something, right? You have to look at this and understand why it's moving. And you have to understand that that infrastructure bill is probably dead. And if the infrastructure bill is dead, then these are probably dead. And they're probably going to come in. So just think like that a little bit. They just trade a little differently, right? But I don't see any reason to be jumping into this at all, frankly. You know, I would watch that. I'm just not a fan of that trade. You know, every time it looks like it's going to rally, it falls apart, right? All we're doing is basing, and everybody's getting all excited about it. So I don't really understand the excitement. All we're doing is staying in this trading range. It's not like we broke out and broke to the upside. It's just a name that everybody loves to play, and they keep trying to figure out how they're going to play it. And all I'm doing is basing. So this could base for months. Maybe it breaks out on earnings. I have no idea, right? It broke out from earnings there, and then that was it, right? You really didn't get any follow through. So that's not something I'm overly interested in. AMC, I like. YNDX. Yeah, I mean, that looks great. You see how you have a little, see how you built this flag right here? I mean, that's all you're really looking for is to pop over that and you can go. I like that a lot. Let's do DMB. So I didn't do DMB. This is a bond of some kind. So a bond, I mean, this looks like it's just going to grind. I really can't add much value here. You got to get above that red bar, and you're having an issue up here. It just keeps going higher. I mean, there's not really much to add there. It just looks like it's going to grind. So let's just go. I think boot can bounce. Yeah, boot could probably bounce. Oh, you're welcome, Stefan. SE, let's do AMBA because I like this name. AMBA. So I actually think this could flip here and go and run. I think this is setting up for a huge move. The way that I moved here and I just haven't even gotten any selling yet leads me to believe that there's a lot more behind this. And this is now a base that's been going on for a year. So I have like a 9-month base on here. So this can go, and you're not overextended. I keep waiting for some kind of pullback and I just don't have it. So I would definitely be looking at that. FDX. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go near this. It just keeps grinding lower and lower. So ETH I'll do. I think ZIM is you can do now. I mean, I think it broke. I think it broke out pretty clearly. So let me do this, and then I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to have to run. So look, this failed. I mean, there's not much more to say here. This failed for now. So this is your area, okay? This was your wedge. It had to make a decision, and it made that decision right on the line that I drew. Right? It had a decision to make, and that decision was to break the 8-day. So it doesn't mean it's done going up. It just might mean it needs a little bit of a rest. And it seems to me that they're all leaning that way. So just keep that in mind. So, all right, everybody, I am out of here. And any questions, just reach out. What are my 3 names? I mean, if I was going to tell you where to focus, where I think the easiest money is, for me, I'm very interested in this BNTX trade, to throw it out there. I'm very interested in how that plays out this morning. I think these are layups. You just have to find spots. You want them to sell down. You want them to get absolutely hammered and sell down, right? But I think that those 3 are absolute layups, right? Being added to an index means I have to have automatic buyers. They're the 3 that I think are the easiest. As far as what I'm looking for option plays, I'll just run through it very quickly so people can look at them if they want. I think Netflix, there's an option play here I'm working on. And I think there's another option play here I'm working on. But I got to jump, everybody. So have a great day. I think you should add to that too, man. I'm going to end with this. I like ZIM. I mean, I've been pounding the table on that stock forever. I just put a trade on and we got stopped out of it and I haven't come back to it. That's it. All right. I'm out of here, everyone.